Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you this morning? Okay, today's discussion is debt. 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 And it's so funny. I just decided that, I was listening to the debate last night, and, they never got around to talking about, how much debt America is in and how that really puts pressure on our country to function well. I had gone to the Bible because I always remembered this statement, but I never knew, I couldn't remember the actual scripture. But it says in Romans 13:8, it says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another." And it says, "Debt makes us slaves. We are slaves to the person or the bank that we owe." And you just think about that. That's really something. I'm going to repeat that later on for the people that come on into this space a little later. I just want them to know that that's heavy. When you think about, if there's a shortage of your money in the first place because of, some decisions that you've made, or the economy, or the pandemic has really forced the issue of what debt does. Good morning, Cassandra. Of what debt does to us, um, and for us. And a lot of times we are on the wrong side of debt. I'm hoping and praying that before I leave this world, that I'm on the right side of it, where I have more than I owe, much much more than I owe, um, and that I'm satisfied with that. But a lot of times we're tempted. We're tempted by the TV. We're tempted by the mail that comes to our front door, our mailboxes. We're tempted by a scheme. I mean, I can think of so many things as I was, growing in, being able to afford more, that I found people literally offering me more things that sounded like I should do it. And I have a many a thing probably around the house that I'm throwing away right now that somebody kind of talked me into, say that's what you should do. And so I ended up, buying in, like the pyramid schemes probably is the biggest thing that kind of ticks me off. Because when I hear them, I'm not into them. I'm not interested in a pyramid. I'm not interested in, you joining, and then you got to get all these people up under you, and then that's how you make your money. Because people will always stop working. I don't care who they are. They could be the president of the United States. If they decide that they're not going to work, they're not going to work. Good morning, Maurice. Or maybe they can't work. Okay, something happens. Something kind of steps in, and they maybe can't do all that they wanted to do. But it's just, to me, it's an interesting thing when you find out that debt is so debilitating. It is, you know, um, to me, it's more than a crutch. To me, you are incapacitated if you owe so much that you can barely live. And a lot of times it's not even a part of the way you wanted things to go, but because in some instances things are so expensive, they're so expensive for you in the first place. I went to the market the other day, and I always remember where you could get a small little pack of, a pound of beef for, like, maybe 3.59, and it was double. It was six something. So, you have to say, okay, so what can I afford now? And you may find out that your money has less opportunity to do you better or as good as you used to get. And everything has gone up. And to me, I don't know how things could go up during the pandemic when, things are needed, but they do supply and demand. So what happens? They Less is available to them to produce, and therefore they continue to charge more. Why? Because it says they have to continue to do as well as they were doing prior to the pandemic. So, you have to think about logically how things run on. and people will, if they can get a break and if they can do something that makes them more money, they will. And in fact, I was noticing on the TV before I turned it off 5-10 minutes ago, what it talked about was that it was scrolling, so it wasn't as if it was a true discussion. It was as if it was something that if you read the ticker tape at the bottom, it showed you what it was, and it said that in spite of us being in a pandemic, that billionaires, made more money than as if we were not in a pandemic. That's a thinkable thing right there. That's interesting to me. But you think about it. Amazon, everybody's at home. They ordering off Amazon. Okay? Google, Facebook. It just says that those who were set up prior to the pandemic are still able to put you in debt. In debt. So I say good morning, good morning, good morning. Debt is the subject today. Just to think about what debt does. What debt does. Debt makes us crippled, and all of us are going to be partially crippled anyway, because who amongst us, the regular folks, who amongst the regular folks can go out and pay $250,000, $300,000 for a room, for a house, a brand new home, debt free? Not most of us. Not most of us. Okay? Who can do the same thing with a car? Who can do the same thing with education? We can't do it. We can't do it. And so we really have to be mindful of the fact that regardless of who we are, the way the system has built up around us is that we are going to be in debt. And so to get out of debt, you have to have a plan. You have to have an opportunity to think about what I make, what I bring home, because there's gross and then there's net. And then on all of that, there's debt. So gross, net, debt. And sometimes the debt it takes over even more than the gross. Okay. We're going to school this morning, just on some simple things, just simple. I'm not even going to get into debt ratio and all that because I'm not an accountant, It's just that sometimes I just look at stuff and things like that are flashing at the bottom of the TV. They're telling me some information that maybe I need to know. I need to know that every time I go to Amazon, every time I go and open up my Windows or I'm going to use the Microsoft Office. At one time they were giving that stuff away. They were giving it away. Good morning, Tamika. They were giving away all those kinds of things. If you were looking for something, you could always get it at no cost. Same thing with a cell phone. I remember them giving us cell phones. All you had to do is purchase a plan, but they gave you the cell phone. Now they charge you for the cell phone $500, $600, $900 for a cell phone that they know that they're in the process of the next version up or 2 versions beyond, while you purchase the one that they're touting on television and the social media. So you end up buying this one only to realize that next year, version XY is up and you want the latest. So they're going to appeal to the side that puts you further in debt. So therefore you always owe them and they always have a money stream coming in. So to me, that is extremely interesting, and I tell you, I'm a person, I hold on to a phone forever. Okay. I have an Android 9 Plus. That's what I'm speaking to you on right now. And they already said, oh, well, we will give you a phone. No, you want to give me the 10, knowing darn well that the 11 and 12 is in the mix. It's in the make. Okay. It's in the hopper. But you want to give me, So I don't fall for those. Oh, I've fallen for them in the past. Don't let you think that I've not been victimized. I've been a victim. I've made myself a victim. I want everything I see, like everybody else. Like if you see a smorgasbord, you almost want to pull your chair up to the table. Okay, you want to eat. You want to see everything. I want some of this and that and that. But guess what? All of that stuff The debt remains. The temporariness was the fact that you went into it. You said, "Oh, no problem. I'm gonna buy it. No problem, no problem." And I know I'm a part of that. I know I'm a part of that group, as is most of America and other countries as well. Debt was was to me, made for there always to be someone in need of what you will go in debt for. Always. We will always need a car. You will always need a place to live. Always. Always need food. And so you have to examine in your always what's your limit on how much the always is going to cost you. If I remember having clients that were in homes that you go into the house, there was only one room they used because that's what they could afford, and they'd go around and they'd close off all the vents, and they got it down where they only used the kitchen, the one bathroom, and the living space there, the bedroom and the small area. After that, they closed off the rest of the house. Why? Because the house cost too much. Okay, it costs too much to power up. It costs too much to the irrigation and all that stuff outside. They stopped doing it. So sometimes we just have to take what I call a sit down look at ourselves and examine what is the debt that we owe. And this debt can be not just in terms of money. It can be in terms of your time. It can be in terms of your intellect, because people will steal that from you too, or you'll give it away. So there's so many things that come with what debt does to us. And debt sometimes takes us down. We don't even realize how much it does. So I'm going to ask you the question this morning. Are you stuck? Do you have some debt? Well, you're not alone. I have been stuck. I'm trying to dig out, and to be, what I would say, to be truthful, is that I've worked for the last probably 5 years since I left the government, that there were some things I would not take into retirement. And one of them was my school loan. My school loan started out where it was like, 3.5%, which was reasonable. But then somebody got in the government and said, look, this is an area we've not touched. It's not like the house. We've always touched the house. It's not like the car. It's not like all the other taxes. We need to raise the tax on education, educational tax. And that's what they did. And they made it where, some people were paying such as, 8.9%, 11.7%, 13%, 20%. Excuse me, that's a lot of money. Good morning, T. That is a lot of money to pay back a school loan. So you think about it. So if you're not making, double of whatever your monthly, requirement is to pay, you're going to be paying for school loans forever. It's like it will follow you into the grave, and then they'll be there talking about, excuse me, he owes this much money for school loan. Then they'll lean against stuff. It will go against your estate. So when you think about debt can be so, to me, invasive, intrusive, destructive. It can take you down. And my thing is that even when my parents having 10 kids, we were never on the street. Even with my parents having 10 kids, we were never without food. Even with my parents having 10 kids, we were always nurtured into understanding that there needs to be some kind of relationship between what you make and what you keep, and then what you're obligated to have to give away. And I remember one time I was selling, this is one of my lessons I learned when I was selling, cookies or something for my school. And I would go to this lady's house named Miss Rita. Miss Rita was always sweet. She always loved to see me and talk to me. I go to Miss Rita's house. She said, well, Sandra, I don't have the money today, but you leave those cookies, and I want 3 boxes, so I'll take 3, and you come and get your money on Friday. Well, Friday came. Well, let me first tell you that Friday came. I didn't get the money, and when I went to the house, Miss Rita wasn't home, or if she was home, she never answered the door. So when I go back to my house and I was telling my mother would always say, "Dumb bunny." She would always say, "You're just a dumb bunny. You have to learn. You cannot give the product away before you get your money." She said, that doesn't make sense. She said, you cannot go to a store, okay, and take out their things, because they belong to them until you pay for it. Take those things with you and feel that you're okay. Can't do it. So I would always laugh about it. And I always remember that being a teachable moment, where I try not to give people anything until I get my money, or until I get the money that needs to pay for what it is I'm giving somebody. But sometimes you have to have a teachable moment. That was my parents, my mother especially, teaching me, don't give it away don't let go of it until they've given you the money for what it costs you to give it to them. So that was my lesson. But anyway, I got a poem, and today's poem is by Paul Laurence Dunbar. And Paul Laurence Dunbar is talking about the debt. The debt. And it says, "This is the debt I pay, just for one riotous day, years of regret and grief, sorrow without relief. Pay it I will to the end, until the grave, my friend, gives me a true release, gives me the clasp of peace. Slight was the thing I bought, small was the debt I thought. Poor was the loan at best, God, but the interest." Can you think about that? Just think about how powerful that poem is. Regardless if we're talking about money or any other thing that we've kind of ransomed ourselves out on. We kind of put ourselves out there in making it where others have pieces of us. They have a piece of us until we pay the debt we owe. We owe. I mean, it's just an awesome little, I just love that poem, the debt. So he's saying even the fact that they may have gotten out there and tried to tell people what they should do and how the things should go and how they need to be taken care of, it didn't matter. The debt is the bottom line. And it says, and grief is years of regret and grief, sorrow without relief. So sometimes we get in stuff, we can't get out of it easily. I never thought I would get out of paying my school loan, ever. And I only borrowed for 2 semesters, two half-year periods, which tells you that had I gone the full, 3 years, when I was reaching for my doctorate, my God, I'd still be playing. My house be out on eBay. That's how bad the debt was. Not my intention, and certainly not my wish. Good morning, Mary. Certainly not my wish, but let's just let you know that sometimes out of your control, things happen regarding debt. Debt is just one of those things. I feel debt creeps, because if you don't pay it, that means you have what I would call a repercussion. You don't pay your debt, then they put your name in the hopper, and next thing you know, you got, Experian and all these other ones who have your name, and then they send you to collectors, and the lawyers get involved, and before you know it, you got liens on stuff or garnishing of wages. So debt to me it's a powerful trouble. It's a powerful trouble. So you need to be mindful about how we all need to be mindful about how we deal with our debt. And all of us are subject to it because we just were not that fortunate with the spoon of silver and gold and the ability to buy anything just that because we wanted to buy it. And, we have it so long where we find out with the interest, as Dunbar was just talking about. The interest itself says that over time we probably paid for whatever it was we were purchasing 2 or 3 times. Wow. All I can say is wow. So anyway, let's talk about debt. Debt, something typically money that is owed or due, the state of owing money. And it could be a bill, an account, a tally, something that is financial, something that's obligatory, outstanding, a payment, an amount, a due, a dues, a means. It's debits, it's charges, it's checks, it's tabs, and it's score. So all of those things speak to what debt is and what debt does to us as those who, all of us. I don't know anyone who's probably not used debt, and as I said, unless they were people who had financially the security to do that. Most people probably in this room, and all the people that I don't know anyone that can just drop it down and pay out a lot of money and not be anywhere concerned. Okay. Most of us who do that kind of stuff, they're probably going to be looking for us on the Friday night news, the evening news, or with our picture. So this person is, fraud, whatever, embezzlement, whatever they say. But anyway, the D of debt is dues. Dues. That means something is owed. It says it's a person's right of what is owed to someone. It's an obligatory payment, a fee. That's how we get all messed up, because we've obligated ourselves to someone being a part of not just our payday, but guess what? It's their payday. They're going to get paid because we're obligated to them. I was looking the other day even at my statement, and they have it's OCH. I don't know what it stands for. All I know is it means withdrawal automatically. And there's a name for it with that's just an acronym, but I might as well say it's ouch. Put the OUCH in it. I'm gonna add a U. But ostensibly it means that they're going to take money, and they do. They take money. They take the money without you've given them the authorization. So every month automatically your house payment is made, your car payment is made, whatever you've obligated to come through that system of your bank, it's automatically done on the 5th of the month, the 1st of the month, the 10th of the month, whatever you've decided, that's how it goes out. But anyway, when you're talking about dues, it's a subscription, a charge, a toll, a levy, a payment, a contribution. It's an obligation, it's duty, it's charges, it's initiation. How many of you have joined certain, groups? Maybe it's a fraternity or a sorority, or like I'm a Rotarian, so there is a fee, a membership fee, and then sometimes there's an assessment fee, such as if you live in communities where they have a community, homeowners kind of, fund. You have to pay into that. In fact, I was talking to a friend probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were saying how expensive that has gone up. For them to say, in order to live in this community, you will pay, $500 a year for us to do X, Y, and Z. And it is not to mow your lawn. It's not mowing your lawn. It's other stuff. For them to tell you, you cannot have a motor home in your front yard. You can't even have it in your backyard. It cannot be seen from the street. It's all those kinds of things. So anyway, the E of debt is earnings. Earnings. This is how much you make, how much you bring in. It says money obtained in return for the labor or the services. It says homeowners insurance. That's right. It says the income, the wages, the salary, the stipend, the pay, the take home pay, the gross pay, the net pay. That's what I was talking about before. The revenue, the yield, the profit, the takings, the proceeds, the dividends, the gain, the payments, the fees, the honoraria, It says the fringe benefits, the pickings, and the perks. All those speak to what earnings are. So earnings can come in all kinds of forms, okay? All kinds. But most of us that work or have worked, we're going to get it in a form of a check that will be either automatically, and most businesses have gone to automatic deposit. So we have automatic deposit and we have checking, and we can take so much that moves to savings or whatever we do. But that's how our money is placed in our accounts. And then the debt on earnings is, of course, how much do you have after you finished paying off everybody each month? How much is left? Good morning, Jean. And we don't even always know how much money remains, because it maybe the month of March requires more than the month of June, or maybe you pay 6 months in January, and so therefore the other months leading up to the month of July, you don't pay anything because you've already paid if it were to be broken down by month, but it's paid, obviously every 6 months. Same thing with quarterly and so forth and so on. But basically, the earnings is the amount of money that you have to begin with. And then you talk about gross versus net, okay? Gross is what all comes in. But the government, they're going to get on in there and they're going to make sure that they take out, all the things they're supposed to. Maybe it may be FICA, it may be, Social Security, it may be, various insurances, life insurance, all those kinds of things. Some people have what they call medical insurance that comes out of there. And then lastly, they may have emergency insurances that come out of that same amount of money. And then on top of that, it's other things that you've applied that come out of that account. And there could be loads of them, loads of things that come out of the account. But that is your responsibility as a person who is running you're running your life. So you have to make sure that things are certainly taken care of. The B of debt is for benefits. And it says the benefits is the advantage or profit gained from something. And sometimes we don't get the best benefit out of the earnings that we make because we're in too much debt. I'll say that again. Sometimes we don't reap the real benefits of the money we earn because we're in too much debt. We have too many things that we're obligated to that we don't get down to what I call the really having money. We're over obligated, and we're probably reasonably paid. Some of us are not. And if we're not, that means the struggle to even pay for what we maybe had to be obligated to is a serious struggle. And so when we talk about benefits, we're talking about really looking at, whatever we get from the employer, a payment or a gift made by an employer. It might be something that we get from a state, something from an estate, or from somebody basically, donating something in our behalf, in our name. Could be from an insurance company, because sometimes that does end up being a benefit in the event of someone's death. It may be also, maturity of money that has to be released by a certain age. Could be a child who was a guardian and all of a sudden, at age 21 or 25, they're able to have access to their money. That's another way of looking at those were benefits, how they were set up. It also talks about anything that has been profitably gained. It says that people can really make the most of it. They really look at how it can be dealt with. And they said sometimes when we have these benefits, we become, where somebody can exploit us. They can really make a killing on us, and we not doing a killing and making money on the money that we already have. In most instances, there's been many a person that's probably been scammed out of a great deal of money just by a conversation to say, hey, look, I can take the money that you have and I can triple it. I can take the money and just give me $10,000, give me $30,000, give me $100,000. And people have done it. They have done it, and only to find out that even when they prosecute, even when they find, arrest, and prosecute the individual or individuals or the company, it doesn't matter. The money is gone, and a lot of times the money cannot be returned. So we do also in our understanding of what debt does, we also have to understand what our benefits that we're getting with our earnings, what they can do, and not letting them go away easily, not letting people pull them away, pull them away from us because we've been cavalier. We have to pay attention to where our money is, and what our money is doing. And the last letter in debt is tied. Tied, T-I-E-D, attached or fastened, restrict or limit. It's a bind. It's to tie up something, to be tethered. That's what we need to look at when we're talking about our money. We need to know enough about it so that when it comes in, we are not victimized by ourselves or others that we've obligated money to. And I would say the superfluous stuff, the unnecessary stuff. Let's face it, everybody needs a house, everybody needs a car, everybody needs a phone. Those things are essential. They are essential things. But when we start thinking that we need 2 and 3 cars, and then we're going to have, all the clothes that our house can accommodate, all the shoes, not just any shoes. We want Jimmy Choo shoes, or we want Rolex watches, or we want the most expensive of what's out there. And then we look at our finances. There's a disagreement. You can't have, 200,000, 300,000 worth of debt, and you're only bringing in $45,000 a year. But sometimes, even when the lenders know that you are a risk, they rather take away your ability to make a good decision and encourage you to make a bad decision, because once again, that gets them in a better place and puts you in a lesser place. It puts you in a lesser place. So when I say tied in this instance, I want you to be tied to your money. Tied enough to know how much money you make, where the benefits of having money are, and what dues and things you're obligated to that keep you in debt, or what you have to do to get out of debt. Okay? And to me, to get out of debt, you have to pay less out of what it is that you need, and pay more down, okay, on what you must pay. And therefore, do not just pay the minimum. Do not. It says you must pay, at least, 1.5 the amount of what you owe, if not double it. So if you owe $150 a month, pay $300, because that's the only way. And I think it was under President Obama's watch, it was determined, through the Senate and the Congress, that those things have to be displayed on the bills so that that you're obligated for 25 years if you're only going to pay the minimum. So for me, I always try to pay double what it is that I owe. And then on top of that, I've been trying this new method. Well, it's not a new method. It's a new method to me, where once I pay off the smallest, amount of debt in one thing, that money, I don't take it and just put it in the bank and let it sit. I take that same money, because I'm still at the same level of money I'm bringing in. I take that money and roll it into the next one up, that says now I'm being able to not just pay what I owe to them once, but add it up to whatever the money is that I was paying to the former or the previous debt that I owed. Therefore, I'm hitting it faster. wiping it out faster. And they said that is the neatest way and also the most aggressive way of paying yourself out of debt. Start with the least and always pay the minimum on the others now. You have to stay in good standing. Because regardless of what we think, big brother, big sister's watching, okay? What you say, need to pay debt with the highest interest. Absolutely. Well, they said sometimes it depends. Sometimes you have to diversify. You have to pay the highest interest. You have to be conscious of that. But they said in order to get up sometimes to the highest interest one, you have to look at how you can leverage all the money that you have to pay debt off with. And then if eventually you can get to that one quickly by getting rid of all the smaller ones, that eventually you'll be able to take, if you were paying collectively on the smaller ones $1,000, you'll be able to take that $1,000 and hit that one with the highest interest quickly. Hit it quickly and steadfastly and continue. And they said, that's how you get out of debt faster. So I agree with you. I definitely agree. In fact, they had a young couple on yesterday, how they got out of $100,000 worth of debt in a year's time. And basically that's what they did. They hit all of the lower ones and then they rolled it up. Pay, roll it up. And a lot of times we don't do that. We end up just always paying the minimum because that's what we claim that we can afford. But I say, so I'm not going to go get my nails done and hair done, or I'm not going to go to the barber, going to try to cut my own hair if I'm a man. I'm just saying, just little things that just put you in a position where you're in control, and save a little money to add towards kicking yourself out of debt, getting yourself out of debt. So anyway, when we talk about our questions, and I do appreciate you hanging in here with me today. This one just came to me yesterday, and it really sung to me. This is true now. I want you to write this down. What debts do you currently have? Write them down. What debts? You don't have to tell me. What debts are you currently indebted to? Where are they? The big things, and I put them in two columns. The left column being, they are essential, like your house and your car. Those are essential. The other ones, put an other column. And in the other column, what are they? Do you have a standing appointment to go get something done that you could let go of? Try to do it yourself or go without. Could you do that? Okay. Number 2, how many dues or publications or memberships or tolls or contributions are you obligated to? Now, I told you I'm a Rotarian, so I do that. And I'm also a part of the Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast. I do that. But after that, I'm done. I think I pay a nominal fee to be with Everman's, the food co-op. I do that. But that fee is like, something small, like maybe $8 a year. So that's very manageable. But I'm just saying, because a lot of times we're in a lot of things and there's a lot of money required for it. Question number 3, how much take-home / retirement and or pay do you get? And out of that, how much of that goes out to debt? 100%, because sometimes people are right on the brink. 50%, 30%, 10%. How much? These are good questions. This is honest stuff, because a lot of times we don't take time to pay attention to what we have and what we need to change in order to have. We don't. We just travel. Whatever comes, we deal with it as it comes instead of planning. Okay? And so that's like, what are the benefits versus your debt? What are your benefits that go against your debt? How much do you have? How much debt do you have? And then how tied are you to debt, and how tied are you to your money? Or is your money untied and you're tied to your debt? Okay. It says, good questions. What kids, high schools need as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when I worked for the government, I always had a coworker who would always tell me, she said, you have such good thoughts. She said, I just don't understand why you weren't teaching in school. And I said, here's a teachable moment for you and probably a lot of other people. Teaching is wonderful. I said, but until they bring it up to the level that people can really live on, I mean, I had done teaching for a little while, and I know the money that we were given was in no way. At one time, I made $14,095. $14,095. That was my salary. That was my salary. And when you are entrusting your children to lead, teach, show students, your children, a way to go forward, teaching is a wonderful profession. Don't ever, and I love education. I just switched from K through 12 to adult. I switched to adult education because I felt that there was more leverage there. There was more money there. I could live a little better. I could live better. $14,075. That's not much money to live off of. It wasn't. Maurice says, economics, government needs to be taught in high school again. That's true. In fact, I was watching that on television this morning, Maurice, where they were talking about what our kids are not privy to, and one thing was even talking about how to elect, how in our country, how we elect officials, where, there's a tier kind of system, where in other countries the people are really electing who is running for office. So they run more like with the popular vote as opposed to the tiered system that we have with the Electoral College. And so they were talking about that. But I agree. Even teaching young people how to balance a checkbook, how to be proud of having money in the bank and making that a stamp and a seal of just, feeling good about themselves, of building a future, of understanding that the importance of money is how they look at it. If money has always been used and given away cavalierly, then you can't do much with it if you don't have any respect for it. And say, okay, Jean says also need to live below your means. Absolutely. Not above. Just because you get a raise does not mean you get to spend more. Oh, child, that's good right there. That's great. That's great. And that's so true. But a lot of times we get a raise. Good morning, Gloria. We get a raise and we're already spending what our raise is. We're spending it instead of saving it, instead of putting it aside, instead of addressing the debt. I always remember this song, What a Debt I Owe, and that song certainly speaks to the fact that we've been given life and liberty and all those things through for me, my Christ, my God. But for others, it's what we become a victim of, what we become controlled by, and money is one of the truest evils. Money, and it's not earning it isn't evil. Earning it isn't evil. It's the people and the banks and the what I would call the advertisement that get into our psyche that say we need it. And because we need these things, therefore we should look at this as a means of giving away our money. And as I said earlier, I'm a victim of it. I've done things like joining things, buying things, and then once I get it, the person that wanted me to join, they've dropped out. Come on now. They have dropped out of what they got you into. So sometimes your money is the entrance in. The other things that go along with the money is the friendships, the interests, all those kinds of things. All the things. You just can't even deal with it because it changes you once you realize that your livelihood has been dealt a heavy blow. Let's see. Maurice says, Jesus paid it all to him I owe. That's right. Absolutely. 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 So, we really talk about how, that's why I asked that question, how tied or untied are we with our money? Therefore, does debt take precedence? Does it sit down in the middle of our every paycheck we get, or every time our money goes in the bank? Do we have any money left there, or are we living truly paycheck to paycheck? Or paycheck to half check. We don't even get to the next paycheck, meaning we got to check in with somebody else to get some money in between to get us to the next paycheck. And I know those folks. I know them. And I'm so grateful to God that I wasn't one that ever had to stay there but a minute. But I think it was like one time. And it taught me a lesson. My lesson was, do not over obligate for money that you only have a little bit of. Do not over obligate. Do not make it where you are spending more money that you're getting in, or you're spending beyond the threshold of what you should hold on to. I'm going to ask this last question. It's not even on here, but it just came to me. How many of you have an emergency fund? An emergency fund, what they say, it should be 3 times your salary in the bank, or someplace of where you can get access to it. An IRA or something that you can get access to. But sometimes we don't even get over the fact that we don't even have enough money to get to the next paycheck. So I understand that. So even as I move further into my retirement, eventually even the government's going to tell me, okay, well, you can't have no money over there. You got to move money. You got to use money because we want our money. And in order for them to get their money, I can't overextend myself in debt so that I need more money to pay debt than I have money to pay the government, because the government going to come after me. They're going to take their money. They're going to take it. They're going to get their money. And then all of your debtors, they'll put a lien, as I said earlier. They will lien on you. Child, please. But anyway, I felt that this was going to be a good session. If you thought it was a good session, just put it down. But I tell you, when you think about debt with your money can make you depressed. It can get you down. It can get in your psyche that you've made some bad decisions. You made some decisions that have long, what they call tentacles, long. You can't even get to the end of the tentacle because it's monumental. But anyway, you know what? I love you guys. I love y'all that come. I know a lot of people look at it after when they get a chance to come back through, because I see the comments and I appreciate that. But being in debt is